Hello everybody, welcome to my end of the year vlog. 2020 has been a year. I don't even know how to describe it. I'm so humbled by the amount of support I've received during such a difficult year, and it just makes me want to make this channel even better and make the community even stronger and just continue down this path. November and December have been crazy in a good way. Being super overwhelmed with work is actually a blessing in disguise. It's also a mental and physical challenge to get through the mountain of work and not to be completely overwhelmed by a to-do list sometimes. So I've been recording lots of behind the scenes stuff throughout the last couple months. A lot of it has to do with studio work, gallery work, just working in general, and I thought it would be cool to share it with you guys so you kind of get an idea of what it's like running an art business. I want to give a huge thank you to my Patreons who have helped support me over the whole year, but especially the last couple months when times have been really tough for a lot of people. Thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. All the support I get through Patreon has really helped me stay afloat this year. Also, a massive thank you to people who have sent me items off my wish list. So many items that are helping me upgrade my studio, like the camera I'm using now, the tripod that the camera is on, and so much more. So thank you guys so much. We hit some pretty big goals this year. I started the year with just over 5,000 subscribers, I think, on YouTube. And we're over 10,000 now, which is so crazy. It just blows my mind. You guys have made this experience really fun, and I'm really excited for the new year because I have lots of plans for streams and videos of all kinds, tutorials, everything. I read every single one of the comments, even if I can't reply to all of them. And I really do take what you guys say to heart when you have suggestions for me or questions, or make a comment so that I know you guys would be interested in a certain type of video in the future. All of that is really helpful. So thank you guys for being interactive with my channel. A lot of you have joined my Patreon. A lot of you have come over to my Discord. You've bought prints from me. You've commissioned me to make art. And a lot of you have supported me in other ways, like sharing my content on social media, liking and subscribing, which does actually make a difference in helping grow my channel. And all of that is so very much appreciated. Okay, so that was just a big long intro. One final thing I want to say is just that I know it's been a tough year. We've been struggling. Everyone I know has been struggling. But the main way that I've been getting through it is to reach out to this community through messages, through Discord, just having that sense of community and feeling like you're not alone, feeling like you're part of a group. We're all still in lockdown pretty much, and I think we have a ways to go before we're gonna be back to normal, whatever that means. Having this sense of friendship through the internet has been amazing this year. I am just so grateful, and I can't imagine life without you guys. So if you feel like you've maybe hit a wall, you're uninspired, you're lonely, whatever it is, I encourage you to reach out to a community. It doesn't have to be mine. There are so many amazing communities out there, but I just strongly believe that the only way we're gonna make it through this is together. For those of you who don't know, I do have a Discord channel that you can come hang out when I'm offline. We just chat about life and art and business, and it's a lot of fun. There will be plenty of links and stuff in the description below. So here's what I've been up to for the last couple months, and I hope you guys enjoy. We went to Skye on November 20th, but before and after that I was sick. So basically 2 weeks out of November I was kind of useless. In my sick downtime, I spent a lot of my hours editing videos and photos, just taking it as easy as I could while still being productive. But I did have a December 1st deadline for getting paintings to my gallery. So any days that I could muster up enough strength to get up and go, I was finishing paintings, I was framing, I was doing all the little things that go on behind the scenes to prepare a new collection. And luckily, I had spent the last 4 months making most of the work, so this final push was all about the little finishing details. And it sounds really easy on paper, but I had 16 paintings that I wanted to send. Each one had to be trimmed, signed, sealed, framed, and packaged up safely to ship to the gallery since we weren't allowed to drive to Glasgow at the time because of those strict lockdown. I use these gorgeous contemporary floater frames for most of my artwork, and I order them online custom built to my sizes, but I still have to install all the hardware on them and then mount the paintings inside the frame. In this case, I was able to take advantage of a bulk order discount, so I measured all of my paintings as well as unpainted boards that I will someday paint on, and I ordered frames that match those sizes so I was able to meet that discount goal. And the cool thing about that is in the future, as soon as I'm done painting on a board, I can just frame it immediately and I don't have to wait for anything to arrive. Remember when I said people have been gifting me things from my wish list? Well, I was so surprised and excited when my new mat cutter arrived, which will allow me to use all these beautiful different colored mats to frame my paintings. Unfortunately, this box of different colored mats arrived at the very end of my framing session, but I have so many ideas to use them in the future, especially for some double matted action. So despite how tedious this final part of the process is, it's also so rewarding. After months and months of hard work and just pouring my soul and my creativity out onto the canvas, I get to finish each one off and almost say goodbye. And I take so much pride in all of the final little details. When working with a larger quantity of paintings, I definitely get into a flow or a production zone, and I have my routine. So I'll add the hardware to the frames, then I'll cut and I'll trim, and I'll attach the painting to the mats, and then I'll sign the backs, and then I'll seal everything, and it's just like this flow state of mind. And then the final icing on the cake is hanging them and taking really high quality photos. I like to take multiple angles and all sorts of close-ups and just get probably too many photos. But it'll be the last time I see them in person, most likely, so I want to make sure I document everything really well. In addition, I send these photos to the gallery so that it's easier for them to update my listing and share on their social media. The feeling of seeing the finished work in the frame and up on the wall is kind of like the equivalent of a photographer finally printing out their digital photos and holding it in their hand. It's very cathartic and just a wonderful way to connect to your work. I've been really bad at getting outside. This time of year you just have to take advantage of the sun. It's so rare and it doesn't last long. It's just set so early. It's such magical lighting right now. after about a week of prepping all of the finished paintings, it was time to ship them. I had been hoping I could have driven to Glasgow and visited the gallery in person because it's just really good to get that FaceTime, and I just love seeing all the beautiful work in the gallery. But right before I was about to ship, Glasgow and a bunch of other cities in Scotland went into a more strict lockdown, so I decided it was best to ship everything instead of waiting longer to take them down to the gallery. It's pretty easy to package most of my work, but for the bigger canvases that were on the stretched canvas, I was a little nervous about them getting punctured or something, so I took way more care in wrapping those with several layers of plastic and bubble wrap and cardboard and all sorts of things. And by the way, most of the packaging materials you see me using are reused from previous shipments that I've received. So I only have a few things that I bought myself, but I save tons of boxes and packing materials over the course of a year in order to be able to reuse them for my own shipments. And that really saves a lot of money and also is just better for the earth. At this point, I was at the tail end of my cold, so I still felt pretty run down, and because of that, it took me about 2 days to package everything. But by the end, I came up with a really efficient workflow and it all went pretty smoothly. So after a quick inspection by my Q&A officer, they were ready to go. And once the paintings were on their way to the gallery, I was able to sit down and edit all the photos I had taken. This was quite a tedious process in itself because it required organizing and renaming and numbering and cropping and resizing and so many different things. In fact, the whole process of working with a gallery and how I create the work in addition to all this other stuff is a topic for a future video, so I'm not going to show you too much from it today, but yeah, you can kind of get the idea. It's time to go to Edinburgh and get a tattoo. p.m. Almost sushi time. But I was just reading the consent form that you have to fill out before you get a tattoo, and it said something about I agree to hydrate and eat before my appointment. This is especially important because you won't be able to take off your mask and drink and eat during your session. And I was like, what? So I am a bit nervous about that. This is the look. I always get really nervous before my tattoos. I have a lot of them, but it still hurts a lot. Damn, that's a good door.
So whenever I was like feeling chubby that day, I was like, you know what?
Let's try to ignore that. Means more than that.
So yeah, it's one of the
Quick heads up, if you aren't a fan of needles or watching tattoos get done, look away for the next 30 seconds. I will tell you when it's safe to look again.
There you go.
It's really funny to me to go back and watch this because at the time I was internally screaming with so much pain, but it looks so simple and innocent here. I actually started the session out sitting in a chair, and within about 15 minutes I got dizzy. So I asked him if I could lie down, and he was totally fine with it. He's like, yeah, you're running the show, just go for it. And before anyone asks, yes, of course it freaking hurts so bad. But the weird thing is that when I was watching him tattoo me, it hurt a little bit less, I think because it helped distract me. So by the end of the tattoo, I was watching him very intently so I could get through it. Okay, my friends, it is now safe to look again. I survived! Oh my god. We only stopped once out of the whole 4 hours. We just like powered through it. And I'm so happy. I love it so much. I can't wait to show you guys. I just want to uncover the tattoo and let it breathe a little and clean it up. And yeah, just have some good old self-care. Alright, now that it's unwrapped, I can give you a little tour. This is a camera, kind of like a stylized illustration of a Canon camera, and a lotus flower growing out of it. And I got this when I first started photography because it was such an amazing creative career path for me, and it set me free financially. I was able to save up money, and eventually I quit my design job, and now look where I am. So that was a huge turning point in my life. And over the years, I had always wanted to finish this arm with the photography theme. So what we did yesterday was we added a roll of film swirling around. So you can kind of see it's intertwined with all the different botanicals, because now I don't do weddings or family portraits really, I do nature photography. So now I still do photography as part of my career, but it's a whole different genre. But it reminds me of like old etched landscape paintings. Since I get a lot of questions about this one in my live streams, and it's hard to show it because it's usually upside down. You can see it now. This is sort of a replica of a painting by Maxfield Parrish, who was one of my inspirations when I was first interested in art. I had a huge poster of his on my wall, and I was always really inspired by his stylized colors and just his way of capturing mood and emotion. So I asked the artist to do a version of that, but make the main woman look more like Luthien Tinuviel, who was one of my favorite characters from The Silmarillion by Tolkien. And if you turn around here, way back here in the distance, you have Beren looking over the water at her through the forest. And it's kind of like the first moment that Beren finds her in the forest. So yeah, again, kind of nerdy. So you guys probably don't see this one as often. Her name is actually Varda Alantari. You can read about her in The Silmarillion by Tolkien. She's saving the fruit from the two trees, basically collecting the nectar from the fruit before Melkor destroys them. And I really love Art Nouveau, so I asked the artist to kind of use that style. And then we have my 2 Princess Mononoke tattoos, which I'm going to show you as these still images because, well, I don't want to reveal anything, if you know what I mean. So anyways, Princess Mononoke has always been my favorite anime, and when I first saw it, I was just in awe of the amazing creativity and the beauty, and I especially fell in love with the forest spirit concept. So on my right hip I have the Daywalker, and on the left hip I have the Nightwalker version of the forest spirit. I honestly think I was a forest spirit in another life. It'd be a little difficult to show you my back tattoo and talk about it, so I'll insert some photos right now and just give you a quick rundown of what my back tattoos are. My back tattoo is a collage of sorts, and so far it has 2 main parts to it. From the mid to upper section, I have this cherry blossom branch, as well as a medallion. During my first art degree, I went to Japan for a ceramic internship, and I got this tattoo to remember how incredible the trip was and how much I grew as a person that year. The medallion is actually a replica of the illustration that appeared on the first version of the Silmarillion. So yeah, I guess you guys can sense a theme by now. The lower half was my most recent tattoo until this week. It's from 2016, and my friend did it when I was at TwitchCon. By the way, I don't recommend getting a back tattoo and then flying home the next day. Anyways, it depicts some koi fish swirling around in a pond, and the lotus flower and cherry blossoms are incorporated as well, so it kind of ties into that theme of rebirth and regeneration. Also, I just happen to be a Pisces. Look what I have! So if you don't know, sticky toffee pudding is Scotland's specialty. This one also has salted caramel ice cream on top, so it's even better. Oof, that was a long drive, and I am dying to see my little boy. So we are going to go ring the bell. The bell of hope. So usually I ring his bell and then I come back in because it takes him a little while to find his way home. Hi, baby. Hi, little boy. Oh, I missed you so much. Don't touch the arm. Oh, I missed him so much. I just want to cuddle him. With the gallery deadline passed and returning back from Edinburgh, I've been working on lots of little admin tasks to wrap up the year. Lots of bookkeeping. I've been scheduling my social media posts and planning out my videos, as well as just catching up on lots of things like emails and orders and things. I've also been really busy getting out all of my Patreon postcards and rewards, and I really like to send out a special little gift at the end of the year for the holidays. So this year, along with the hand-painted postcards, I decided to send out little archival prints of a couple of my favorite paintings of the year, just as a little extra thank you. Let's paint! Happy solstice, everyone! I'm about to stream on Twitch and we're just gonna have like a nice chill painting session. It's kind of like my holiday stream because after this I won't have another stream until December 28th. I hope everybody gets a kick out of this. Oh god. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Hi guys. I had to decorate my antlers. Sorry I'm late. So the stream is over. It was a lot of fun. I worked on my sketchbook for a little while, and it's always fun to celebrate the holidays with people. Now I'm gonna go for a solstice night walk. I just made these cards and I'm gonna deliver them to our neighbors. I think it's time for the Q&A portion of this video. I asked you guys in a recent Instagram and YouTube post what questions you have for me, and I got quite a variety of questions. I will keep the painting questions for a separate video, and in this video I'll answer anything related to business or life stuff. So, Dry SS from Morocco, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your username, asked a few questions, so I'll start with those. They would like me to talk about the beginning of my painting journey. If you haven't already, I do have another Q&A video where I go into detail about this, and I do recommend watching that because I think it answers a lot of questions. But basically how I started out is I graduated high school, I went to art school. As soon as I graduated there, I went back to school for design. I graduated and then I worked in the design industry for a while, but during that time I also taught myself photography, and my photography business really took off. So I ended up gaining financial independence from that, and I quit my design job to pursue photography. So all that happened between like 2007 and 2015. And then around 2015, I got into streaming and painting, and now here I am. That is the very abridged version of my journey. And their other question is, how do you motivate yourself after a bad day of painting? That's tough, and it does happen more often than I would like, but it's mostly because my own expectations are so high, and a lot of times what happens is I have a vision of how I want to create something, and my skills don't meet that goal. So what I need to do is kind of stop forcing it, and I have to go back to the basics. I have to work on some drawing, some composition, some values, some color mixing, and just grow stronger in those areas. And then eventually my skills get closer to what I'm envisioning so I can actually sit down and paint it properly. I just keep my old paintings and my studies and even lots of my failures in an old file that I can look at someday in the future and see how far I've come. Okay, their next question is it okay to copy an art style of another artist? How do you find your own? I don't think it's okay to copy another artist, but it's different than getting inspired by another artist and trying to figure out what inspires you about that artist. So is it their creative use of color? Is it their interesting compositions? Those are the things that you should be working on. Eventually, the more you paint, your style is going to emerge from that. So you can start out by thinking, I want to work really loose and colorful and playful. And eventually, as you grow your techniques, your final result is going to look like you, and it's going to be yours, and it's not going to be a replica or a copy of someone else. Okay, next question is from Jacqueline Thorner. Hi Sarah, I'd like to know how you find the direction in your business model as an artist. I mean, in order to balance your ideal practice with a viable income source. That is super tricky for me because I never was taught how to do this. I have just been figuring it out day by day as I go. I try a lot of things and I figure out what works for me and what doesn't. And I've tried so many different things over the last 5 years or so. As I mentioned, I started painting around the same time I started streaming online in 2015. And so my whole artist journey has been online, viewable by the public. Like some people have been in my community and along on my journey the entire time I've been doing this. And it's a really strange feeling to know that, or it almost feels like I'm very exposed. Like people have seen me at my worst and my best over the years. And through that experience, I've realized that people really like to connect with me on a real level. So rather than just me doing everything behind the scenes and then presenting a finished product to the audience or, social media, whatever it is, I'm sharing the whole thing, like ups and downs all along the way. I stream multiple times each month. I make lots of videos along the way, and people get to glimpse all of the ups and downs of what it's like doing this full time. And if you are part of my Discord community, you get to see a lot more behind the scenes stuff. And if you come to my streams regularly, we do talk about this a lot. And in terms of income, a lot of that is also just figured out along the way. Like out of nowhere, I just decided to try making Skillshare classes this year. I thought it would be a good alternative to pursuing real life workshops during this lockdown. And lo and behold, the Skillshare classes has basically doubled my online income. I had no idea that would happen. I just tried it and luckily it worked out. But there have also been times in the past where I've done something that I saw another artist doing, like make calendars and go sell them at an art show or something like that. That's really specific, but you get the idea. And it was a total failure for me. And I lost a lot of money doing it and I learned my lesson. So I never look at what other artists do anymore. I just think of ways that I can take what I do on a daily basis and share it with the world, and which pieces of that might be valuable enough that someone is willing to pay for it. So for instance, tutorials are really great because they can be sold through Skillshare or individually, or I can put them up on my Patreon and people subscribe to me there. So there's a lot of opportunity in the art world for that, but it's a lot of experimentation to get to that point. And ultimately what it comes down to for me is holding on to my big picture, my long-term goals. And that bigger goal is I want to teach live workshops someday in a studio that I call my own and teach people how I connect to nature and how I portray my connection on the canvas. But with the way that things are going this year especially, it has taught me that I can really only plan so much. I can have those big dreams and those plans, but when it comes down to it, if everyone is in a lockdown, I have to find a way to adapt. So I keep my mind open along the way, and my business model is basically to adapt and try to enjoy the journey. The next question comes from Art Waves on Instagram. What is your degree in? 'Cause the way you teach is amazing. The details, steps, and theory. First of all, thank you so much. That's really sweet of you to say. As I previously mentioned, I have a degree in fine art. I also have a degree in sustainable interior design, which is what I meant when I said I worked in the design field for a while. But when it comes to teaching painting, so much of that is from my own trial and error, because I didn't go to school for painting. I never even took a painting class when I was in art school, and everything I know is just from trying things. So it's a lot of repetition, it's a lot of experimentation, and along the way, I figured out things that work for me, and I just tell people honestly how I do it. Luckily, it seems to work for a lot of people, so they can skip some of the headache that I went through. And I love being able to share what I've learned along the way to help people get over those hurdles. I do want to mention that when I say I'm self-taught, it's not like I never looked at a tutorial or a video online or anything like that. In fact, I've watched thousands of hours of them over the years, but it's more that I watch videos occasionally, but I do way more experimentation. But I take what they say and I apply it to my own practice. And that's where the experimentation comes in. Because a lot of times what someone else does doesn't exactly work for me. I have to figure out how to translate what they're saying and make it work for my technique to achieve what style I like. I hope that makes sense. So I'm always on the lookout for lighting and colors. I like to observe little things, like little details of the forest, and later when I'm in the studio I remember those things. So for instance, looking at ferns, backlit versus front lit, or top lit versus like side lit. There's such a variety of greens in this one little piece, and it depends on how the light is hitting it. So for instance, when the light comes through the leaves, you get this bright green, and then anywhere that it overlaps, you have a kind of a silhouetted leaf, that dark green. And then the upward facing leaves that aren't backlit have a bluish green tint because the sky is reflecting on top of the leaves. And then even in the upward facing leaves that aren't directly reflecting the sky, you have a subtle green. I would call this the local color because it seems like the most natural version of the leaf. And then of course you have all the shadowy ones down there. So it's just fascinating. And the final question comes from BeckyISJ.art from Instagram. Where do you start learning how to paint? There are so many guides and tutorials out there, it can be overwhelming to pick which to choose from. I definitely know what you mean, and my best advice is to first look for artists who paint things, who do things in a style that you love. They have to be making art that you absolutely love. Then look and see if they produce any kind of tutorial type content. If not, move on to the next artist. But the art should be the thing that drives you, not just the fact that there's a free tutorial somewhere online. Eventually, you are going to find an artist that really inspires you and creates lots of tutorials. And a lot of times, people in their community are watching other artists who do the same thing, and you can kind of go down that rabbit hole. But ultimately, I really encourage you to do a 1-to-1 ratio. For every hour of content you consume, you should be pouring an hour into your own practice. Because no amount of tutorials or videos online will replace real experience. Getting really cold, so I think I'm going to leave you here. This vlog was definitely long enough. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in 2021.